Hey everyone, Algornath here from The Right Way, and another excellent article from Dan Wooten on Daily Mirror UK about the COP26, but as Dan Wooten calls it, Flop26. That is brilliant. I need to add that into the title of this video. Flop26 is just the absolute best name for that particular conference. He's written an excellent article about all the hypocrisy of all the people that are attending. Even though you might believe in climate change, all of these bloody hypocritical people that go to the conference are not doing anything. So let's go through his article. It's really good. I don't know which image of unbridled hypocrisy, sickening privilege, and total tone deafness made me feel more. The parade of 400 private jets parked up at a Scottish airports as world leaders, royal and billionaires gushed out more carbon within a 24-hour period than most of us will in a lifetime in order to arrive at COP26 and preach what we all must change our lives forever more in order to reach net zero by 2050. I mentioned this in a previous video. Why could a lot of these people not take in a commercial flight, at least gone in business or first class if you have to? But you could have gone in a commercial airliner, but now you have to bring your private jet, which spews out tons and tons of carbon for just transporting a few number of people. All the dangerous insulate Britain criminals splayed once more on the roads, this time in Manchester, to stop more hardworking Brits from going to work, taking their kids to school or getting to hospital, when most of these eco-terrorists haven't even bothered to properly insulate their own homes. That's just the start of the maddening spectacle of Flop26 over the past 48 hours. Brilliant. There have been hyperbolic statements about the end of the world designed to terrify our children from the great and the good. A sweary display from the omnipresent sulky T Greta Thunberg. Oh, that's a brilliant description of her. Gives it to sets it to her as to a T, right? That's pretty much what she is, a sulky teen. Always going on about everyone else, never comes up with actually any solutions of her own. That never gets mentioned anywhere. No shows from China and Russia, probably the two biggest polluters on the planet, including India, although India is there, but not giving much of a commitment. The Archbishop of Canterbury comparing the climate debate to Nazi appeasement, so you can't even have a debate on this anymore. And Prince Charles blatantly wading into politics yet again by demanding a vast military-style campaign to reduce emissions. Royals should never go talk about political stuff because they live in their own bubble. They're not like real people, just like all the elites are, basically. In fact, I'd go so far as to say there's never been a bigger disconnect between everyday Brits and the political, business and media elite, determined to tell us what we must do while not changing a thing about their own lovely lives. That is absolutely correct. Look at a couple of videos before, I talked about Bill Gates having a birthday party and flying in tons of people to his bloody party. So it's okay for him, but it's not okay for the rest of us. So don't listen to all of the elites anymore, right? They don't have, they never follow what they tell us to do. And I say all of this as a passionate environmentalist. I actually spent much of my own youth as some sort of 1980s Kiwi Thunberg wannabe, writing songs and campaigning about the hole in the ozone layer that you might remember was going to lead to our imminent demise. Yep, I was one of those terrified youngsters back then who listened to the environmental doomsday merchants with complete terror. How many times have we been told the world is going to end in 10 years over the past 40, 50 years, right? Hasn't happened yet. But guess what? Moderate changes to CFCs and spray cans and refrigerants over a period of time has meant that the ozone hole has actually shrunk in recent years. So it hasn't actually had no effect at all, has it? The world survived the warnings from the hysterical campaigners again, and I learned a big lesson that constant scare campaigns from people who jet around the globe in private jets is not the best way to tackle climate change or environmental issues. I'm sure you've seen this wherever you are in the world. You will have seen in your mainstream media and the newspapers, on TV and so on, it's just climate change, climate change, climate change. We're going to die in 10 years, we're going to die in 10 years, we're going to die in 10 years. It's a concerted campaign to scare the living shit out of all of us, and in particular the youth, because they think that if you scare them, the youth will then take action to get things done, which doesn't actually happen either. This is where you would hope the so-called independent British broadcast media would step in to bring a degree of perspective to Flop26 proceedings. Chance would be a fine thing. Instead, we have had hysterical Channel 4 news anchor Jon Snow tweeting his way to the summit en route to Flop26. Trees and branches affected by climate change have slowed our rail journey, though the branches must have been cleared when we are done. When we are down to 5 miles per hour. What an irony. What a message. We must change. Dare we hope that we shall. Is he saying that climate change causes branches and to fall off trees and leaves? What? Is a so-called impartial broadcaster really trying to claim that branches never fell onto train lines thanks to storms before the so-called climate emergency? Of course they did. Any normal person would know this. All of these elite people don't give a shit about normal people. Just be aware of this. Sky News' craven coverage has been unsurprising given that they are an official sponsor of Flop26 and run a dire daily climate show. Oh, they're an official sponsor, so what do you expect? I mean, when news organisations are sponsoring a climate change conference or any conference, you know that they cannot be impartial, right? But I'd like to see one of their journalists question the company's own chief executive, Dana Strong, who spent the first half of the year commuting to a job in London from Philadelphia in the US via, you guessed it, private jet. Oh my God, the gall of these bloody elite people. Telling us what to do, and they're the ones, they're so hypocritical. And despite forcing its own TV dramas to start including characters driving electric cars and rejecting meat for vegan dishes, Sky had the audacity to defend the 3,500 mile transatlantic commute. I suppose for the company said many CEOs leading multinational companies have schedules that means it is appropriate to use different modes of transport. It is crucial to counterbalance this. This is why we offset carbon emissions caused by the business travel of Sky employees. Translation: we are telling our viewers to stop going on holiday and reduce meat consumption. If you're rich, you don't need to change a damn thing. That is it, right? They're just paying to live the life that they want and expect us to do what they say because they know that we don't have the money to do exactly the same thing as them, right? Don't listen to these elites. Don't listen to these Hollywood celebrities. Don't listen to most of your bloody politicians. They're all in it together. They can afford to live the lives they want, and they want the rest of us normal people, working class, middle class people, to do the work of saving the planet for them. And that's despite Sky's own research concluding that its viewers are put off by the fear-mongering, guilt-tripping, blaming or preaching when it comes to the environment, and instead want broadcasters to lead by example. The hypocrisy is off the scale. Of course it is. Speaking of which, the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen should have been laughed out of the room when she called the summit a moment of truth for the planet, given she is a private jet addict who on one occasion used one to travel just 31 miles. Oh my God. But most concerning has been a full-fledged BBC climate campaign masquerading as journalism. Perhaps that was best illustrated by the corporation's climate editor Justin Rowlatt, an anti-Trump protester whose sister is one of the Insulat Britain zealots arrested for blocking roads. His interview, in quotes, with the Prime Minister amounted to a shouting match, with a clearly exasperated Boris Johnson helplessly turning to look at his advisors on a number of occasions. In one exchange, Rowlatt yelled, "You're going to the developing world saying phase out coal at the same time as not ruling out a new coal mine in Britain. The new coal mine in Britain, we started the Industrial Revolution, we should close the mines." What the hell has happened to BBC reporters keeping their highly controversial political opinions to themselves? As the PM tries to reply, Rowlatt continued his tirade saying, "Why don't you say we're just not going to open this coal mine? Why don't you be clear on the coal mine? The Chinese will just say we can't take this guy seriously." So the BBC is now campaigning for the closure of all British coal mines. I mean, sure, it's okay to have that view, but if you're a bloody journalist on the BBC who is publicly funded, you need to represent the views of all people, because you're getting money from all people, not just from left-wing green people. Then you shouldn't be sticking your own personal opinion into those particular things. So it goes on a bit more about what he's talked about. The media should have one focus this week, working out how to tackle the world's largest carbon emitter, China, whose leader Xi Jinping didn't even bother to turn up. So you're not going to do much if he's not turning up. Without change from that terrible communist regime, and I agree they are a terrible communist regime, which is building 43 new coal-fired power plants and will soon be responsible for more than a third of global carbon emissions, much of the discussion is futile. Idea that insulate Britain looms to book a flight to Shanghai or Beijing and try to block a Chinese road. This is the thing, right? Don't bother bloody protesting in your comfortable freedom world. Go over to China and go and protest over there and see what actually happens. And then you'll get an idea of what it's like in China. And an important reminder to the BBC, the UK is now responsible for less than 1% of the global carbon emissions. Our carbon emissions have fallen faster than any other nation in the G20, right? So if the UK is responsible for less than 1% of global emissions, whatever the UK does is never going to have much of an effect. I'm in New Zealand. Our global emissions are about like 0.1%. So all of the money that we spend, all of the stuff that we do on emissions in New Zealand is not going to have any sort of effect on global emissions at all. You need to target the big emitters and go after those people. Tackling the topic of China's lack of action seems far too difficult when asking Brits to fundamentally change our way of life is on offer instead. But Boris and the Beeb should be warned. While most folk like me absolutely want to protect the planet, we have not consented to fundamental, largely unnecessary and vastly costly changes to the way we live our lives. And that position is only going to be hardened as all the upper hypocrites of Flop26 fly out to Glasgow tonight in their private jets onto the next glamorous location. Thank you so much. What was your name again? Dan Wooten. That is an amazing article. It perfectly talks about what I've been talking about in a much better way than I could ever do. That is an excellent article, and thank you for bringing that to the attention of everybody. And he's got 271 comments, so I'm hoping that lots of people are getting to read this. Let me know what you think about Dan Wooten's article. Did you like his article? Did you not like his article? Let me know in the comment section. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like the video, you're welcome to give it a thumbs down, and hopefully I will catch you in the next video.